I've spent the last 3 decades looking at charts that would terrify the average man. I've sat across from guys in their 20s, men in the prime of their lives, or at least they should be, who look at me with hollow eyes because they can't conceive a child with their wives, or because they've lost the drive that used to define them. They come to me looking for complex genetic disorders, blaming environmental toxins in the water supply, or thinking they have some rare hormonal disease. And while the modern world is indeed toxic, the tragedy I see unfolding in my clinic every single day is far more personal and far more preventable. It is a tragedy of design, a catastrophe of fashion, and a fundamental misunderstanding of biological engineering. We are currently witnessing the rapid, systematic sterilization of the modern male and the decline of testosterone on a global scale. And the culprit isn't just what you are eating, it is what you are wearing. I am Dr. Richard Coleman, and if there is one thing my years in this field have taught me, it is that nature does not make mistakes, but man certainly does. We have built a modern lifestyle that is effectively a war on our own biology. To understand why your testosterone is plummeting and why male fertility rates have dropped over 50% in the last 40 years, you have to look down at your waistline. We need to have a very serious, very uncomfortable conversation about heat. Let's start with the most basic yet most ignored fact of male anatomy. Have you ever truly asked yourself why the testicles are located outside the body? Think about it. From a survival standpoint, it seems like a terrible design flaw. They are vulnerable, sensitive, and exposed. Every other vital organ, the heart, the liver, the lungs, is protected behind a cage of bone and layers of muscle. So why would evolution take the genetic future of the species, the family jewels, and hang them outside the fortress? It wasn't an accident. It was a biological necessity. It is what I call the thermal imperative. Your testicles are a chemical factory. They are tasked with two massive jobs: producing millions of sperm cells daily and synthesizing testosterone, the hormone that makes you a man. But here is the catch. This factory cannot operate at body temperature. The human body runs at roughly 37 degrees Celsius, 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. That temperature is lethal to spermatogenesis. To function, to actually produce viable life and robust hormones, your testicles need to be exactly 2 to 4 degrees cooler than your core. That is why the scrotum exists. It is not just a bag of skin, it is a sophisticated biological thermostat. When it's cold, the cremaster muscle contracts to pull them closer to the body for warmth. When it's hot, the muscle relaxes, lowering them away from the body to release heat and cool down. This expansion and contraction is the engine of male fertility. Now, look at the modern man. We have taken this elegant, millions of years old cooling system and we have destroyed it. We have turned our lower bodies into what I call the modern kitchen. We are not just sweating, we are cooking. By encasing ourselves in restrictive, heavy, synthetic fabrics, we have overridden the scrotum's ability to regulate temperature. When you restrict that area, you trap heat. It accumulates. And this isn't just about feeling a bit warm and sticky on a summer day. This is about cellular destruction. Inside your testicles are the Leydig cells. These are the engines responsible for pumping out testosterone. When you subject Leydig cells to chronic heat stress, what happens when you sit in an office chair for 8 hours wearing the wrong pants? You are effectively slow cooking your own virility. The enzymes required to convert cholesterol into testosterone begin to denature. They fail. The production line stops. The result is not just infertility, it is testicular atrophy. Your body literally begins to shrink the organ because the tissue is dying from heat stress. You end up with low energy, brain fog, depression, and a complete loss of libido, all because you disrupted the thermal imperative. But the damage doesn't stop at hormone production. There is a secondary, perhaps more immediate consequence that most men ignore until it is too late. It's the vascular connection. Heat does something very specific to the intricate network of blood vessels in the pelvic region. Chronic overheating causes chronic inflammation. When the delicate endothelial lining of your arteries gets inflamed, the vessels react by constricting. They stiffen. And what happens when a pipe stiffens and narrows? The pressure drops, the flow stops. If you have noticed that your erections are weaker than they used to be, or that your volume has decreased, or that you just don't have that morning wood anymore, do not just assume it is age. It is very likely that the heat has damaged your pipes. You have created a hostile environment where blood cannot enter with the hydraulic force necessary for performance. We focus so much on the balls, but the plumbing that feeds them is just as vulnerable to this thermal assault. Now, before I tear apart your wardrobe, listen to me closely. Changing your clothes today will stop the damage from getting worse tomorrow. That is crucial. But for many of you watching this, the inflammation has already set in. The plaque has already built up in those narrowed arteries. Throwing away your tight pants won't magically scrub the plaque that years of overheating and inflammation have deposited. To regain the hydraulic pressure you had in your youth, you need a different approach. You need to flush the system. I have spent years compiling the research on this, and I have prepared a strictly essential guide called the Vascular Pressure Blueprint. How mature men are flushing out arterial plaque to restore full, rigid blood flow naturally. It is not a drug. It is a protocol. If you want to fix the plumbing, you need to check the link in the description below. That is the first step to reversing the atrophy. But while you prepare to do that, we need to stop the bleeding, or rather, stop the heating. Let's get into the specifics. I am going to list the 5 absolute worst clothing choices you can make. These are the items that are currently in your drawer, sterilizing you. The first culprit is perhaps the most common, and I call it the nutcracker. I am talking about tight briefs, including tight swim trunks or sunglasses. I know men think these provide support. Let me tell you, your testicles do not need that kind of support. They need freedom. When you wear tight briefs, you are mechanically pinning the testicles against the perineum and the inner thighs. Remember the thermostat mechanism I explained? The scrotum needs to drop to cool down. Briefs make this physically impossible. You are locking the factory inside the furnace. You are keeping the testicles pressed against 37-degree body heat all day long. There is no air circulation, no distance regulation. You are forcing your body to reabsorb its own sperm because they are dying before they can even mature. If you wear briefs, you are voluntarily disabling your body's primary defense against infertility. The second enemy is a silent killer because it looks innocent. It's polyester and synthetic blends. I call this the greenhouse effect. Look at the label on your underwear or your trousers. If it says 100% polyester nylon or a high percentage of elastane, you are wrapping your genitals in plastic. That is what synthetic fabric is. It is plastic. Natural fibers like cotton or bamboo breathe. They allow moisture to evaporate. Plastic does not breathe. It traps moisture and it traps heat. When you wear polyester underwear, you are creating a humid, stagnant microclimate in your crotch. The temperature creates a localized fever. I have seen studies showing that the scrotal temperature of men wearing polyester is significantly higher than those wearing cotton. It cooks the sperm, yes, but it also creates a breeding ground for bacteria and fungi, which leads to further inflammation. You are essentially turning your pants into a swamp, and nothing healthy grows in a swamp. The third item is one of the worst trends in modern fashion: skinny jeans. I refer to these as the tourniquet. This goes beyond just heat. Skinny jeans are a double threat because they combine thermal retention with physical vascular restriction. When you wear denim that is tight all the way down the thigh and through the groin, You are compressing the femoral artery and the intricate web of veins that drain the testicles. You are cutting off the supply lines. I have had patients complain of dull aches in their groin, a condition often misdiagnosed, which turned out to be simple mechanical compression from their genes. You are creating a low-grade ischemia, a lack of oxygen to the tissue. Combine that with the thick, heavy fabric of denim that retains heat, and you have the perfect recipe for testicular failure. If you have to jump to put your pants on, you are killing your testosterone. Number 4 is tricky because it is associated with health: compression shorts. Men wear these to the gym. They feel athletic. They feel locked in. And I will say this: if you wear them for exactly 1 hour while you are doing high-intensity interval training, fine. But the problem is that men keep them on. They wear them under their work clothes. They wear them all day for comfort. This is hormonal suicide. Compression shorts are usually made of thick, high-tension synthetics, lycra, spandex. They are the ultimate combination of the nutcracker and the greenhouse. They press the testicles tighter to the body than even briefs do, and the material is designed to keep muscles warm. You do not want your testicles warm. You want them cold. Wearing compression gear for 8 hours a day is one of the fastest ways to lower your sperm count I have ever seen. Finally, we arrive at the 5th culprit, the modern Trojan horse, the pocket radiation trap. This isn't just about fabric, it is about what you put in the fabric. I'm talking about carrying your cell phone in your front trouser pocket. This is the final blow. Think about it. You have already heated the area with tight pants. Now you insert a device that generates its own heat, batteries get hot, and emits electromagnetic frequencies, EMF. You are placing a radiation source inches away from your sperm factory. There is substantial data suggesting that EMF exposure can cause oxidative stress in sperm cells, damaging their DNA. It is like placing the factory inside a slow-cooking microwave. You are radiating the very cells that carry your genetic legacy. If your phone is in your pocket right now, take it out. Put it on the table, put it in a jacket pocket. Anywhere but near the boys. This is the reality we face. It is an inconvenient truth, I know. You like your style. You like how you look, but you have to ask yourself, is looking trendy worth losing your biological essence? Is it worth the brain fog, the lack of drive, the inability to perform when it matters? However, as I mentioned earlier, simply throwing these clothes in the trash is only half the battle. It stops the active injury, yes. It lets the factory cool down. But it does not repair the supply lines that have been neglected for years. If you have been cooking your groin for a decade, you likely have what we call lost hydraulic pressure. The heat-induced inflammation has left scars, microplaque build-up inside the arteries that feed the penis and the testicles. Switching to boxers allows the testicles to hang, but if the blood cannot reach them with force, they cannot recover their full size and function. The tissue needs oxygen, nutrients, and hormonal signaling that only comes with robust, unrestricted blood flow. Masculinity requires 2 things: cold and flow. You must keep the testicles cold, and you must keep the blood hot and fast. You have learned how to keep them cold today. Now you must ensure the blood can actually get there. Do not neglect the internal cleaning that your arteries desperately need. To ensure that blood returns with full force to the region you have just liberated from the heat, you must follow a protocol of arterial cleansing. I strongly urge you to access the vascular pressure blueprint, how mature men are flushing out arterial plaque to restore full, rigid blood flow naturally. It is the missing link between stopping the damage and actually recovering your vitality. The link is right below. My name is Dr. Richard Coleman. We are building a community of men here who refuse to let modern negligence erase their biology. If you want the truth about your health without the sugarcoating, subscribe to this channel. We are going to continue to peel back the layers of lies that are keeping you weak. Fix your clothes, flush your arteries, and I will see you in the next video.